Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be talking about microcavity polaritrons. And you can read more about my work in these archive papers. So let's begin. So here is a picture. It has nothing to do with microcavity polaritrons, but I really want to introduce some basic ideas that we use in the quantum mechanics. So I would really like to show you a classical trajectory. So in this picture, what we see is a ball and its trajectory highlighted in this as a red line. Okay. So most of you, I hope, are familiar with this picture and what's going on. So the important thing that I want to discuss here is that we can really calculate and even measure this red line. So that's what we do in these matches.
एहसन आपकी ऑडियो थोड़ी सी जो है वो जरा ग्लिची सी आ रही है. Can you try adjusting that a little? Actually not using the headphones might actually help अगर आप directly microphone use कर लें उसका laptop का.
Is it okay now?
Oh, it's much better. It's perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's a turn. So important point here is that we can really determine this trajectory either experimentally or theoretically. And this is done by using classical equations of motion. So here what we do in classical mechanics. In classical mechanics, we deal with position, velocity, forces, accelerations, and if things are spinning, then spin angular momentum, angular velocity, angular acceleration, torque, etc. And what we do is we use equation of motion to determine acceleration and then velocity and then position as a function of time. And similarly, we can also determine a spinning angular momentum as a function of time. So this is all possible. There could be some experimental error, but there are no intrinsic uncertainties in classical mechanics. So that's very nice thing about classical mechanics. Now look at another picture. So this is a famous picture. It's a Bohr model of an atom. So there are Z number of protons in the nucleus here in this black dot line, black dot. And there are, of course, Z number of electrons orbiting this nucleus. So this is a very simple picture where these circles, these concentric circles with labels N1, 2, and 3, they basically show Bohr orbits. So it's just like planets orbiting the sun. Well, there is one interesting thing that I hope everybody also knows. This wavy line, this red line, and this blue arrow. So the blue arrow shows that an electron in n is equal to 3 quantum state or orbit jumps to n is equal to 2 state. And a photon, this red wavy line, is emitted as a consequence. So this is the Bohr model that we study in FSC and even metric, I guess. Now, what's different here? What's different is this uncertainty. This process is not very certain. So unlike the classical trajectory of that ball that I just showed you, we cannot determine either experimentally or theoretically when this process is going to happen and how exactly this is going to happen. So there are uncertainties in the quantum mechanics. So like position, momentum, and other classical variables in quantum mechanics, when we deal with smaller objects like atoms, electrons, nuclei, molecules, smaller objects, we need quantum mechanics. And when we want to study these quantum objects or quantum systems, the kind of objects or things or variables that we deal are Hilbert space, operators that are matrices, basically states that are vectors, and things called amplitudes and probabilities. So we cannot we can't really talk about things without any uncertainty. So we always have probabilities for different events and different processes, or even for an electron to be at a certain in a certain region or with a certain speed or momentum. So we have Hamiltonian, that's the most important object, most important operator in quantum mechanics, and something that we denote like this, psi. So it's a ket, it's a state. So we deal with Hamiltonian operator. This small hat shows that it's not really a classical variable, it's something different. So Hamiltonian and this state. And we can project this state onto position space or momentum space. So we can talk about wave functions, things called wave functions. So for example, here we have this wave function in X space. And for whatever quantum system we are talking about, we can talk about now probabilities at certain in certain region dx of space. So this probability would depend basically on mod square of this wave function. So psi xt mod square times this the size of this region, infinitesimal. Let's take it infinitesimal. So this object would be the probability of our particle to be in this region. So we are not even sure our particle is in a certain region. Okay, so that's how we deal with quantum systems. So just like classical equations of motion, Newton laws, we have another equation that governs our system. So it's a Schrodinger equation. It tells us how this state evolves with time. And just like classical systems, we can still have experimental error, small or large. But what's different here is, as I already mentioned, some uncertainties. So these are intrinsic uncertainties. Okay? So due to these intrinsic uncertainties, we cannot tell if we have, say, at t is equal to 0, if we have an excited atom in, say, level 3, we don't know when exactly it's going to emit the photon and go down in energy to level 2. Okay, so but all we can talk about is the probability. So for some initial state I and final state F, probability for the transition from state I to F would be something like this object with amplitude from I to F mod square times a factor that is there for energy conservation times dt. So that's all we can talk about in quantum mechanics, the probabilities. Okay. So some basic elements of quantum mechanics that I really want to introduce are for quantum systems, we have, as I already mentioned, most important operator Hamiltonian that governs its dynamics, and the state of our quantum system at some particular time, of course. And the quantum dynamics or the dynamics of our quantum system is simply the time evolution of our state that's determined by the Schrodinger equation. So, for example, if we take the most simple case, the simplest one, it's a two-state system. So we can label the states 1 and 2. So it's basically just like an atom with only two quantum states, or any other system with two quantum states. The Hamiltonian in these bases, in these two state bases, would be a matrix. Since it's an operator, now it's a matrix in these bases. And here, E1 and E2 are energies of these states, but there is a factor of V that's for the coupling between these two states. So we can have two state systems, but those two states could be coupled. Okay, so this V is the strength of the coupling. For this system, the Hamiltonian would look like this. And suppose we start, suppose we have the system at t is equal to 0, or at initially its state, its initial state, psi at t is equal to 0. Suppose we take it as state 1, which would look like in this notation as a column vector 1, 0. That would mean that its probability in state 1 is 1 and its probability in state 2 is 0. So these numbers are just the coefficients for the states 1 and 2, and their mod square would tell us the probabilities. The dynamics of this system, time evolution, would be determined by the Schrodinger equation, as I told you, and the generic form of our wave function would look like this. So psi at some time t greater than 0 would be a column vector with two elements, cos omega t and sin omega t, where omega would be a function of this interaction and the relative energy of one state from relative energy of one state with respect to the other. This number E2 minus E1, it's called detuning. So this omega would be a function of coupling and detuning. So that's how the general form of our quantum state would look like. Now I would switch to whiteboard for a few other concepts. So some more fundamental concepts that we need are stationary states. For a two-level system, for example, there would be two stationary states. So here is our state 1 at energy E1, and here is, for example, our state E2 at energy E2. So this is called energy level diagram. And these two states are coupled with strength V. So we can show it like this one. And now these if V is not equal to 0, if V is finite, then E1 and E2 would superimpose and make two new states. That would be stationary states. Okay, so say like here and here, one would be lower in energy, one would be higher in energy. So let me call it minus and plus. So there would be these two states, one lower in energy, one higher in energy, which would be stationary. And why we call them stationary? These states would be basically eigenstates of our Hamiltonian. So here is our Hamiltonian E1, E2, V. We can diagonalize this Hamiltonian just like matrix diagonalization, and we can get our eigenstates. Okay, so eigenstates of H. These would be our stationary states. Let's call plus and minus, and their energy, let's call them E minus and E plus. Okay, so these states can be calculated using eigenvalue equation. So it's like the same H, and we can call our states plus minus, for example. So we can also call them some psi. So these two states would basically they would be given by this equation. Okay, so the important thing that I want to mention here is, okay, there are a few important things actually. So what we need to do is we need to first understand these two parameter regimes. One where V is large, one where delta is large. How our eigenstates or stationary states would behave under these circumstances. So let's suppose V is very larger than delta. So in this case, these two states, 1 and 2, would actually make these plus and minus with more or less equal contributions. Okay, so this minus state would be roughly like 1 plus or maybe minus, let's call it minus, something like this. Okay, and plus would be like 1 plus 2. Okay, so there is like if we normalize these states, there would be like 1 by square root 2 factor here roughly. So these states would be more or less equal superpositions. Okay, so that's what we get under this condition. Now in the other regime where V is much smaller than delta, in this case, this is 1, this is 2, these eigenstates minus and plus, they would essentially be like 1 and 2. So energetically, they would be very close to 1 and 2, and there would be like plus, for example, would be like 2, and minus state would be like 1. So this is under this condition, we can actually calculate these states plus and minus using perturbation theory. Those who are familiar with perturbation theory can really guess what these shifts would be. So we can use first order perturbation theory, for example, to calculate these shifts, and we can use first order perturbation theory to calculate corrections in these. So there would be a small component along 1 in this state, and there would be a small component of 2 in this state. Okay, so we need to understand these two regimes to actually understand a few other things. So if we have a system like this one with 2 levels, the 2 states that are coupled or uncoupled, whatever, but the system is not interacting with anything else in the universe, then we call it a closed system or an isolated system. Then these plus and minus states would be actually perfectly stationary. That would mean that if we start with plus state, for example, the system would stay in the plus state. And if we start with minus state, it would stay in the minus state. And if we start in a superposition of plus and minus, then the components along these plus and minus would stay the same. So that's very important. But if our system is not really isolated, it's interacting with some other system, even weakly, then these states would not be purely stationary. But we can still approximate under weak coupling case, we can still think them as stationary states. But in this case, what would happen is if we start with plus state, for example, the system would stay in the plus state more likely, but it has small probability to go into the minus state. Okay, so if our system is not isolated, okay. So we start with this state, but this state would develop a component along minus with time. It would actually have, it's not stationary, so it would develop. So with time, we would have from plus to minus. There would be a probability to go from plus to minus. Okay. Similarly, if we start with minus state, there would be a probability to go to plus state. Okay. So now I can give you a really nice example of this system. So I can go back to the Bohr atom. So here is our nucleus, and here is our n is equal to 1, and here is equal to 3 or 2, for example. So if if these states were really stationary, then the transition from N2 to N1 with emission of a photon would not happen. The reason that this process really occurs in nature is that this is not isolated. It actually interacts with electromagnetic field. Okay, so now let's go to the electromagnetic field. Just like an electron orbiting a nucleus, electromagnetic field is also a quantum system. Okay, it's a field, it's a quantum field, and it can have excitations in it that we call photons. So these photons are excitations of this electromagnetic field. Okay. Now, whether we have any excitation in this system or not, if the system is coupled to our Bohr atom, it can induce transition between these states. Okay, so that's the reason this transition happens. So if at t is equal to 0, we start with an atom in an excited state, it can give its energy to the electromagnetic field it's coupled to as a photon, as a real photon, and change its own state from higher energy to lower energy. All we care about is energy conservation in this case. Okay, but unlike a classical system, we would actually not know in which direction we would emit our photon, at what time we would emit our photon. So all these quantities would be taken care of as probabilities. Okay, so unlike our classical ball, cricket ball, we would not know the real trajectory of our system. Okay, so there is another important uh, concept that we might not actually use, but it's relevant here is shifts. So if our atom is coupled to this field that can cause transitions between its states with emission or absorption of photon, it does another job as well. It shifts the energies of these levels. And I hope senior undergrads would know this name. It's Lamb shift. So energy levels of our quantum system would shift as a result of its interaction with the electromagnetic field. Okay. Okay. So now I need to tell something else about this system. So I mentioned that our atom is weakly coupled to this electromagnetic field, another quantum system. When one quantum system is weakly coupled to another quantum system, all they can do to each other are transition between their quantum states and slight shifts in their energy levels. Okay, so this is called weak coupling. But there is another important concept that's called strong coupling, of course. So what's strong coupling? It's not weak coupling, of course. So if our atom couples to this electromagnetic field very strongly, now this is a relevant term, of course. So if we can make the coupling between our atom, our material system to the electromagnetic field that's light, strong enough, then there are other things that can happen. Okay, and those other things are basically simple. These other things are just like coupling between these two quantum states that I mentioned previously. So if coupling is strong enough, then these two states would make two other quantum states that would actually be stationary for our combined system. So say if we have one quantum state of one system that's coupled to another quantum state of another system, then combined system would make these two states. Let's call them A and B, or maybe again minus and plus. Now we can go back to the weak coupling that I just mentioned. So if the coupling between these two systems is weak, that actually would mean in this case that this coupling is much smaller than say this shift, this detuning. Then I've already mentioned that in this case, our states minus and plus would be very close to these states. So this is 1 and 2, and this is plus and minus. And again, as I mentioned, if we start with plus, for example, since in this case, plus is not stationary, exactly stationary. So, okay, so there is one more thing here. So if coupling is weak, for the two-level system, I use these symbols 1 and 2 and plus and minus. In this two-level system, this plus and minus are exact stationary states, okay? But for an atom interacting with the electromagnetic field, well, if the coupling is weak, we don't need to bother about the states of electromagnetic field. All we care about the states, quantum states of our atom. So in that case, what we need is quantum states of our atom. But since these quantum states are weakly coupled to our field, they would not be really stationary. The real stationary states would be very close to these, but they would not be 1, 2, and 3. But since we don't want to talk about the field, we only want to talk about our atom, then we really use the same labels 1, 2, and 3 for the real state as well as these approximate states. Okay. So when we say that we have an atom in excited state, that means we know with certainty that the atom is in the upper level, okay, in the state 2. But the state 2 is not a stationary state.
Hi, sorry, we were having some technical interruptions.
Okay, sorry about the interruption. That's my internet is weak.
Let's just wait. Essen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Let's just wait a minute. Let's just wait a minute.
Okay.
With this modern technology and not so perfect devices, we do get some problems some of the times. लेकिन आज कुछ ज्यादा ही तंग किया है इसने. This
हाँ,
normally
यहाँ
does
पे
not.
क्यों में भी इंटरनेट काफी वीक होता है, मुझे नहीं पता क्यों.
हाँ, ये खैर इंटरनेट का नहीं, ये मेरे मेरे जो मेरी कंप्यूटिंग मशीन है उसका इशू है. The problem is that I'm the one who started the webinar, and if my machine crashes, then the whole system crashes along with it.
Okay.
This is a problem at my end only. I just want Adam to join. He should be joining in just any minute now. TK, I think you can begin now. Sorry
Okay,
about
thank
the
you.
interruption. Please begin.
It's okay. So I was talking about the weak coupling of our atom with the electromagnetic field. So why we call our atom in the excited state, because we don't want to talk about the field that's already that's also there and interacting with our atom. So all we talk about is our atom in the ground state or our atom in the excited state. Okay, so in this case, for example, if our atom is in the excited state, and since that excited state is coupled to the electromagnetic field, it's no more stationary state of a combined system or our system. And if you start with this state, it has a finite probability to make transitions to other states. So that's how we go from this state to this state. Okay, and since it's coupled to the electromagnetic field, it gives its energy as electromagnetic excitation, a photon. So this is weak coupling. But what we can do is we can strongly couple our atom to the electromagnetic field as well. For that, what we need is something to confine our electromagnetic field to enhance its strength and coupling strength with the atom. So the system that does this job is simply a microcavity. It's two mirror. So here are two mirrors, for example, facing each other. So for visible light, for example, this would be like 100 to 200 nanometer, this distance. And just like particle in a box, the classic textbook example, the light is confined. Lambda by 2 would be of the order of this length or width. This. Let's call this. Okay, so the light field would be confined in this region. And since it's confined, that would mean if we excite this system, if we give it a few photons, those photons would stay there for long enough time. There would still be a small probability to leak those photons outside because these mirrors wouldn't be perfect. So, but if these mirrors are good enough, they can confine our photons for long enough time, then this microcavity can be used to strongly couple our electromagnetic field to our material systems, atoms, molecules, quantum dots, things like that. So let's go to exciton polaritons. So the polaritons the polaritons are actually the hybrid particles of electromagnetic field and material excitation. So if we have this two-level system and call it an atom, two-level atom, then this atom can be either in the ground state or in the excited state. If it is in the excited state, we call it an exciton. Okay. If it's in the ground state, then it's in the ground state, we call it in the ground state. There are no excitons. Okay, so we call it one exciton, and if it's in this state, we could call it zero exciton. We can place this system, this two-level system, atom, whatever it is, inside the microcavity. So if we place it inside the microcavity, around the center, for example, where this field is stronger, the strength, the coupling strength between this system and the electromagnetic field here can be made strong enough that it overcomes these losses and some other losses as well. Under these conditions, we would call our system to be in the strong coupling regime, and the distinctive feature that we would see in the experiment, for example, is this formation of new hybrid excitations. So under this condition, we can't talk about now the exciton or the photon because they are strongly coupled. They would make two new quantum states, and those quantum states would be stationary if we ignore these losses. If there are these losses, those quantum states would still have a finite lifetime, and if we have those, one of those at time t is equal to 0, it would decay as a photon or as an exciton after some time. Okay, so let's go to the exciton polariton. So these flat rectangular rectangles are mirrors in this case, and at the center is our quantum well, where we have this exciton. Okay, so we don't need to talk about what this exciton really is. For example, here we have a hole and an electron. So exciton is actually a bound state of electron and hole. Well, this exciton is coupled to this electromagnetic field and would make an exciton polariton. So there are other kind of excitations called polaritons. For example, vibron polaritons, surface plasmon polaritons, XYZ, something that mixes with the light or strongly couples with the light, makes some new hybrid excitations, is usually called polariton. Okay, so we will talk about exciton polaritons. And in the experiments, it can be found from its dispersion. So for example, with absorption or reflection or transmission, we can see where our system absorbs or emits or reflects. Okay, so with wave number here on the x-axis or with angle, so we can change our angular wave vector and see the absorption or reflection, whatever spectrum we want to observe, and we find these lines, this lower polariton branch and this upper polariton branch. And there is this feature called anti-crossings. So this blue line here is the spectrum of our light, the microcavity mode. And this red line, that red horizontal line, is material excitation. So it has no dispersion with K, it's almost flat, so it's a flat line. These two excitations couple to make these upper and lower polariton. Okay, and it can be seen in the experiment. So it can be confirmed that, okay, we have this system in the strong coupling regime if we see this anti-crossing in our reflection or absorption, for example. So now I want to talk about organic exciton polaritons. So instead of a simple two-level system, if we have an organic molecule, the important difference would be that in the organic molecules, there would be many atoms, and those atoms can vibrate. So there would be some vibrational motion as well. And that vibrational motion is really coupled to our electronic states and electronic transitions. So the thing we just call a polariton in our simple two-level system would have some vibrational components as well if we have organic molecules inside a cavity. So these cavities would be called organic microcavities. Okay, and these polaritons would be organic polaritons or organic exciton polaritons. And these systems are relevant to up to different optomechanical systems, light harvesting complexes, for example, solar cells. And this effect, this strong coupling effect, can be used to modify so many properties like chemical reaction rates, for example, and transport, charge transport, energy transport, for example. So this is introduction. Now I'll just show you some results that I obtained. So let's first talk about the hopping transport. So if we have organic semiconductor, for example, the charge transport would not be like band transport. It would be hopping from one molecule to another. So there would be many molecules, and electron at one molecule, an extra electron or a hole, for example, it would hop from this site, this molecule, to its neighboring molecule, and under the influence of light or just a Brownian motion. So these processes would make our system conductive. Okay, so if we have our organic system, organic semiconductor inside this microcavity, and we are in the strong coupling regime, how would the formation of our organic polaritones affect this hopping transport? That's a big question. And two important processes can be considered here. So for an organic molecule, let's ignore all electronic states except the lowest two, and let's ignore all vibration except a single vibrational mode. Okay. So for electronic states, if we have an extra electron, for example, on one molecule, its lower and higher states would be occupied like this, these two dots. So these L and H are for HOMO and LOMO, highest occupied molecular orbital and lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. So for two-state system, this low state would be our HOMO and this high state would be our LOMO. So if a molecule has an extra electron, its LOMO is filled. But if it has a neighbor that doesn't have an extra electron, and that system is in the ground state, then electron there would be in its HOMO, like this one. Now this electron can hop from this molecule to this molecule, okay, to make this configuration. Similarly, if this atom is excited, if there is an exciton on this side, then this electron in the HOMO can jump to the electron to the HOMO level of the excited state, and we would get this configuration. So these are two important electronic processes that we talk about. J, L, and J, H are just their amplitudes for these processes, and we would see how strong coupling or formation of polaritones would change our hopping rates from these bare rates. So in this picture, for example, here we have an excess electron. It can jump from here to here, or it can jump from here to here. These two states are electronic states, but there are vibrational states. So even if the system could be in this organic molecule could be in either ground or excited state, but there would be these vibrational states. So the electronic structure or electronic levels or energy level diagram of this molecule would look like something like this. Okay, so there would be these red equally spaced levels approximated as a harmonic oscillator with this ground and excited state. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the details of the calculation, but I'll talk about the results. So here are our results. Here, these lambda Ds are the coupling, the electronic coupling, if our molecule is doubly occupied. Okay, if it's charged site, if it's charged molecule, then the electronic coupling or vibronic coupling, sorry, the vibronic coupling, that's the coupling between electronic transition, electronic state, and vibrational mode would be lambda D. And if it's in the ground state, we take it as a reference 0, and if it's in the excited state like this one, we would call it lambda. Okay, so here we have for lambda is equal to 1 for 10 molecules inside a organic microcavity at excitation density of 1. I'll talk about it later. We take this vibrational quanta to be about 0.2 electron volt, and this detuning is the detuning between the cavity mode and the electronic excitation. Okay, so we plot here the normalized rates. So it's organic microcavity. There are polaritones, and it's not in the ground state. Actually, we pumped it with a lot of excitations. The excitation density, that's number of total excitations, photons or excitons or polaritones, number of polaritones per number of per molecule, number of polaritones per molecule. So here, if this excitation density is 1, that means there are 10 polaritones, okay, because there are 10 molecules. So under this condition, when we have so many polaritones, then how this hopping would be affected. So this ratio here, R LP naught by R naught. So R naught would be the hopping rate without this formation of Clariton. Okay, it's the bare hopping rate. How it would affect. So here we can see it's the logarithmic scale on the left, on the vertical. It's from 10 to the -4 to 10 to the +2. That means if we change this number here, the detuning, then we can change these rates up to 10 to the +2, 100 times. So we can enhance our hopping rates up to 100 times for these parameters, or we can express our hopping rates up to maybe 10,000 times under these conditions. Okay, depends on what this coupling is. Okay, and what detuning is. Of course, what other parameters are, the metal-like coupling. Okay, so that actually shows that these polaritrons would enhance or suppress our hopping rates. That means our charge transport, our hopping transport. So they affect the charge transport, and they can either enhance or suppress our charge transport. Okay, so this figure is for excitation density equal to 1. Now, how the rates behave if we change the excitation density? So keeping other parameters the same and this delta equal to 0, we can plot the rates again as a function of the excitation density. And now it's a log. Okay, so on the x-axis, it's again logarithmic scale. So we can see that at very small excitation density, when there are almost no excitations or no polaritrons in the systems, or we can have a few polaritrons, but our system is very large. That's in the thermodynamic limit. So, for example, we have millions of organic molecules coupled to a single Kaplan mode. Then having a few polaritrons would not matter. So it would only make this excitation density infinitesimal. Okay, so at very small excitation density, these rates for either of these parameters, lambda d, would be 10 to the 0. That means 1. So they would not be affected at vanishing excitation densities. Okay, so to get this enhancement of suppression, we actually need a sizable finite excitation density in our system. Okay, so that's the other result we have. And here we have this omega r. That's the coupling between light and matter, the coupling between our electronic states and Kaplan mode. And from red to yellow, we are increasing this strength of this coupling. Okay, so it also affects our rates. But if the coupling is large enough, then there is no more. We get some kind of saturation, and there is no more. Okay, but if the coupling is very small, then a small change in the detuning, for example, or excitation can cause a relatively large change in the hopping rate or the transport. Okay. So that's the first result that I want to show you about the hopping transport. So let me check the time. So I think I've already spent all of time. So if there are any questions, you can please ask, or if you like, I can go to another result. And again, I will not talk about the model and microscopic details of our model. I'll just show you the system and its results.
Yeah, perhaps you can take another 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Because of the interruptions, yeah.
So there is another system that it's actually again the same system, but now we are not missing an important interaction. That's spin orbit interaction. So in organic molecules, usually we have small elements like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen. Okay, and for these elements, relativistic effects like spin orbit coupling is very small. It's in micro electron volt range. Okay, but if we have heavy elements like lead, gold, iridium, with uh, Z greater than, for example, 70, for example, yeah, then the spin orbit interaction can be sizable, and it can even be on the scale of other couplings, for example, this light matter coupling. And now, what would happen if we have strong spin orbit coupling in our system? So in atoms, we know that spin orbit coupling would split our levels and stuff like that. But in organic molecules, what this spin orbit coupling would really do is it would mix our excited states with another kind of excited states that I haven't talked about yet. The excited states I talked about are actually spin singlet excited states. And those are called spin singlet excitons, or just singlet excitons. And those are the states that actually couple to the electromagnetic field and emit light and absorb light or make light on and stuff like that. There are these triplet excited states, triplet excitons. These are spin triplets. So these are not emissive. They don't interact with light if they are pure triplets. Okay. In real material, since there is a small spin orbit coupling, this singlet and this triplet would slightly mix, and there would be a slight chance that this triplet would emit. And that's what we call phosphorescence. So it takes a lot of time to emit from this state. Okay, so now our model expands from 2 to 3 state system. So we have our organic molecule, our electronic state of our organic molecules, our ground state, triplet exciton state, and singlet exciton states. Now I won't talk about the vibrations. Okay, so we are ignoring those. So the energy of this triplet and singlet, they are not degenerate, they are different. There is this this exchange splitting between these two states. We usually denote it with J. So it's there, yeah. So now J is usually, it depends on the character of our system. So for example, in one molecule, we could have our exciton localized in a small region where its components, electron and hole, are also localized on a few atoms only. Under this condition, this J could be strong. It could be like 0.5, 0.7, or even 1 electron volt in some cases. Okay, but if we have a slightly splitted system, so if we have electron localized on a few atoms, but the whole, its bound pair, the bound hole, is localized on some other atoms, and there is some separation, physical separation between these two, it could still be a bound state. Okay, but under this condition, this exchange splitting would be small. Okay, so there is a range of J that's possible in real systems, in real organic molecules. Okay, so let's take J, for example, 0.5. Yeah, and under this condition, what would happen? So we have two, let's take only two states of our cavity, vacuum, and single photon state. And this single photon state would couple to our singlet exciton as before, and would make two plegitonic states called lower plegiton and upper plegiton. But now this lower plegiton contains singlet component and photon component. So it's a hybrid state. Yeah. And due to this formation, due to this strong coupling, its energy is lowered from singlet, and it gets closer to this triplet. So as we approach to this triplet, the coupling, the spin orbit coupling that's there between this singlet component of the lower plegiton and the triplet exciton, it can really work now. If the relative detuning between triplet and this lower plegiton is smaller or of the order of this spin orbit coupling, then this lower plegiton can further split into two states. due to its coupling to this triplet. We call it LP minus and LP plus. Okay, this superpoliton also couples to this triplet, but since there is a larger energy difference, we can ignore that. We can even ignore the superpoliton as well. So in this system, what we are focusing at is how spin orbit coupling changes our polytonic states. Okay, so spin orbit coupling between singlet and triplet state would change this low polyton to these two polytonic states, LP minus and LP plus. And this LP, this low polyton, this state, this polytonic state, it had only singlet and photon component, but now this low polyton, LP minus and LP plus, these two states contains three components. So they contain singlet component, triplet component, and photon. Okay, depends on what's J, what's spin orbit coupling, and what's this omega R. Okay. Now this effect can be observed in experiments. This omega R for experimentally realizable systems, this omega R has been found to even go up to 1 electron volt in some cases. So this can really happen in real system. And the way we can find out if it really does is, again, to look at absorption or reflection spectrum. So here are our calculated absorption spectra for different parameters. So if we have, so lambda here is our spin orbit coupling. That's the coupling between singlet and triplet. And omega R is coupling between singlet and the cavity mode. So if omega, if lambda is small, then we have only two states. We see only two states here, for example, in panel A. But if we increase omega R, then our low polyton come closer to the triplet, and there would be some splitting here. And if we increase the spin orbit coupling strength to, for example, say lambda 0.5, then this effect can really be enhanced, and we would see something like this, where we would have an anti-crossing here as well. So just like a polytonic system where we confirm our strong coupling, our formation of polyton by looking at the anti-crossing in the absorption or reflection spectrum, here again we see an anti-crossing. Actually, we see two anti-crossings. Okay, so this anti-crossing would be due to the spin orbit coupling, and this anti-crossing would be due to simple light matter coupling. So this is a signature that can be observed in the experiments that we recently calculated. So if you really want to study more about our work, you can go to arXiv and see our papers. I can again show you. The links. Okay, so these are the references. This one, yeah, this one is about spin orbit coupling, and this one is Hoping transport. So I showed you results from this paper and this paper. Okay. And the method we use to actually evaluate the hopping rates in this paper, it could be found in the supplementary material of this paper, or its earlier version in this paper, or its computational details can be found in this paper. Okay. So that's all I have for you now. So you can start questions if you have.
G, any questions? Rizwan, go ahead.
Thank you, SN, for this talk. मेरा आपसे थोड़ा सा टेंजेंशियल सवाल है. There used to be ये आपने बीच में जो हॉपिंग का आपने जिक्र किया, उससे मेरे जहन में आया. There used
Sorry,
to be
किस चीज का?
hopping transport.
Hopping. Okay. Hopping
Hopping
transport. Yes.
transport. I understand that organic के लिए तो it becomes very important, but there was this class of devices जो कि organic devices नहीं है, लेकिन जो single electron devices हैं, मतलब those are typically silicon based, लेकिन I thought कि उसके अंदर भी शायद जो है hopping plays a role in actually allowing tunneling, because if you just naively estimate the tunneling rate, we have tunneling probability that's very, very low. Is that true or not?
Yeah, sure, it would. So if the coupling is strong enough, it would actually modify those states. And once you have different states, you have everything different. So amplitudes for any process, hopping or whatsoever, would be different in general. So yeah, it does affect the current transport as well, and even this tunneling effect.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? अच्छा, ऐसा ना आप स्टूडेंट्स को थोड़ा सा गाइड कर सकते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल कि ये लेवल शिफ्ट्स फॉर एग्जांपल कैसे कैलकुलेट करते हैं? सो यू मेंशन कि एक एटम जो है वो क्या कहते हैं इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक फील्ड से इंटरेक्ट करता है, एंड देन यू हैव दीस ट्रांजिशन रेट्स. वो तो आई थिंक स्टूडेंट्स आर फेमिलियर विद दैट.
आप वीक कपलिंग की बात कर रहे हैं, जो लैम्प शिफ्ट टाइप शिफ्ट्स की बात कर रहे हैं?
वीक कपलिंग, चलें वीक कपलिंग से स्टार्ट कर लें. So students, I think, are familiar with time-dependent perturbation theory की calculation and so on, but I think they are relatively less familiar with कि वो level shift कैसे calculate करते हैं.
वो टाइम इंडिपेंडेंट से भी हो सकता है, उसके लिए टाइम डिपेंडेंट की जरूरत नहीं है. वो जस्ट जो आप परटर्बेशन है आपके पास कोई भी, तो उसके मैट्रिक्स एलिमेंट्स जो भी ओरिजिनल स्टेट्स हैं, ठीक है, 0 थर्ड जो भी आपकी स्टेट्स हैं, उनके बीच में जो भी परटर्बेशन है आपकी, ये आपको बताएगी ना. ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट ऑर्डर प्रोडक्शन है यूं होती है, और इस तरह वो जो परटर्बेशन देगी, तो बेसिकली वो परटर्बेशन.
लेकिन उनकी कंफ्यूजन ये होती है कि आपकी द परटर्बेशन जो है वो टाइम डिपेंडेंट है.
अच्छा, परटर्बेशन टाइम डिपेंडेंट अगर है तो फिर आप, अगर परटर्बेशन टाइम डिपेंडेंट है,
इधर तो टाइम डिपेंडेंट ही होती
है, तो फिर दो चीजें हैं. फिर आप या तो इंस्टेंटेनियस आइगन स्टेट्स की बात कर सकते हैं, और जब इंस्टेंटेनियस आइगन स्टेट्स की बात करेंगे तो इंस्टेंटेनियस हैमिल्टोनियन जो है सिस्टम का, उस इंस्टेंट पे जो भी परटर्बेशन है, उन स्टेट्स की जो एनर्जीज हैं, आप उन एनर्जीज की अगर बात करना चाहें तो फिर आप वो कर सकते हैं. और दूसरी चीज आप जो कर सकते हैं वो ये कि आप कोई एक रेफरेंस सिस्टम ले सकते हैं जो t=0 पे परटर्बेशन 0 थी फॉर एग्जांपल, और उससे शिफ्ट्स आप निकाल सकते हैं. ठीक है, तो इस तरह की चीजें आप कर सकते होते हैं फिर टाइम डिपेंडेंट अगर है आपकी परटर्बेशन तो. लेकिन टाइम डिपेंडेंट जब परटर्बेशन है तो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट जो चीज है वो आपकी ट्रांजिशन के रेट्स और उस तरह की चीजें हैं. शिफ्ट्स यूजुअली स्मॉल होती हैं, शिफ्ट्स इतनी ज्यादा नहीं होती. इवन जो प्रैक्टिकल कैलकुलेशंस या मॉडल कैलकुलेशंस भी हैं माइक्रोकैप्टिव की फॉर एग्जांपल, या इस तरह के सिस्टम्स की, ये सारा कुछ ओपन क्वांटम सिस्टम, ये टर्म अगर स्टूडेंट्स याद रख लें, ओपन क्वांटम सिस्टम. तो ओपन क्वांटम सिस्टम, तो शिफ्ट्स आप इग्नोर कर सकते हैं, यूजुअली शिफ्ट्स इग्नोर कर दी जाती हैं. ठीक है, तो इंपॉर्टेंट चीज ट्रांजिशंस हैं कि स्टेट्स के बीच में ट्रांजिशंस, उनके एम्पलीट्यूड्स कितने हैं. तो वो जो जिस तरह की, जिस फॉर्म की आपकी इंटरेक्शन होगी, जो परटर्बेशन है, उसके मुताबिक वो ट्रांजिशंस पास करेगी. फॉर एग्जांपल जो हॉपिंग ट्रांसपोर्ट के लिए हमारे पास हॉपिंग की जो परटर्बेशन है, जिसको हमने परटर्बेशन लिया और जिससे हमने ट्रांजिशन के रेट्स कैलकुलेट किए, तो वो ये होगी कि जैसे मैंने ये दो मॉलिक्यूल्स आपको बताए कि ये एक डबली ऑक्युपाइड मॉलिक्यूल है, इसके करीब एक और फॉर एग्जांपल ग्राउंड स्टेट में मॉलिक्यूल है, और ये इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ से यहाँ जाता है. ठीक है, अब ये जो प्रोसेस है कि इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ से यहाँ जाता है, ठीक है, तो इसके लिए हम मैट्रिक्स एलिमेंट्स लिख सकते हैं. इसकी ये इनिशियल स्टेट है और इसकी जो फाइनल स्टेट है वो भी हम लिख सकते हैं. इस प्रोसेस के अगर ये यहाँ से यहाँ जाए, जो एरो शो कर रहा है, तो ये फाइनल स्टेट बनेगी. ठीक है, तो इसको मैं इनिशियल कह देता हूँ, इसको मैं फाइनल कह देता हूँ. तो जो हमारी परटर्बेशन है, मैं उसको परटर्बेशन, ठीक है, तो ये एक ऑपरेटर है ऑफ कोर्स. ठीक है, तो ये क्या करेगा, ये हमें इनिशियल से फाइनल पे लेके जा रहा है. तो अगर आप इनिशियल स्टेट में थे तो आप फाइनल स्टेट में चले जाएंगे, और अब इस परटर्बेशन की स्ट्रेंथ कितनी है, तो ये वो मैट्रिक्स एलिमेंट्स जो मैंने ऊपर लिखा था कोई जे
राइट राइट राइट।
एल या इस तरह का कुछ, ठीक है, इस तरह की चीज। तो ये आप इस तरह परटर्बेशन लिखते हैं और इसके मैट्रिक्स एलिमेंट्स फिर आप इवेल्युएट कर सकते हैं। जो आपकी क्वांटम स्टेट्स हैं जिनके बीच में ट्रांजिशंस होनी है, वो तो आपकी माइक्रोकैविटी और ये पूरी प्लैरिटॉनिक स्टेट्स हैं, ठीक है। उन प्लैरिटॉनिक स्टेट्स के कंपोनेंट्स के अंदर ये दो मॉलिक्यूल्स भी होंगे, इनकी स्टेट्स भी होंगी, ठीक है। तो ये जो ऑपरेटर है इसकी स्पेस तो खाली इन्हीं दो की है, ठीक है, लेकिन बाकी आप आइडेंटिटी मल्टीप्लाई कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। तो ये दो मॉलिक्यूल जो इन्वॉल्व हैं हॉपिंग प्रोसेस में, ये उनकी स्पेस और बाकी जितने हैं उनकी स्पेस, ठीक है। तो इसको आप इस तरीके से फॉर्मली जैसे स्टूडेंट्स करते हैं क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स में, उस तरह आप इवेल्युएट भी कर सकते हैं। तो आपके पास कोई इनिशियल स्टेट होगी, कोई फाइनल स्टेट होगी, ठीक है। जैसे इनिशियल स्टेट जो भी लोएस्ट एनर्जी की प्लैरिटॉनिक फॉर गिवन एक्साइटेशन डेंसिटी होगी स्टेट वो होगी, और सेम बेशक आप फाइनल भी ले लें। अगर ये सारा कुछ ये जो एटम्स हैं इनकी ये जो एनर्जी स्टेट्स हैं, ये एनर्जेटिक डिफरेंस या ट्रांजिशन एनर्जीज, अगर ये सारी आप बराबर रखते हैं, ठीक है, कोई डिसऑर्डर वगैरह नहीं लेते, तो चीज़ें बड़ी सिंपल हो जाती हैं, ठीक है। तो आप सेम इनिशियल से सेम फाइनल, लेकिन कन्फिग्रेशन में अब आपके पास चार्ज ट्रांसफर दूसरे पे हो गया, और प्लैरिटॉन का हिस्सा जो पहले ये स्टेट प्लैरिटॉन का हिस्सा थी, अब ये एटम मॉलिक्यूल प्लैरिटॉन का हिस्सा हो गया, ठीक है। तो यूं थोड़ा सा फर्क है, ठीक है। तो ये इनिशियल और फाइनल स्टेट्स आप कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं। इसकी जो कैलकुलेशन है उसमें काफ़ी कम्प्लेक्स चीज़ें मौजूद हैं, ठीक है, जो हमने काम किया स्पेशली, ठीक है, क्योंकि हमने परम्यूटेशन सिमेट्री ली थी। तो अगर परम्यूटेशन सिमेट्री आप ना यूज़ करें तो कैलकुलेशन सिंपल है, लेकिन फिर उसकी एक्सपोनेंशियल जो स्केलिंग है वो 2, 4, 5 मॉलिक्यूल से ज़्यादा आप कैलकुलेशन नहीं कर सकते। जबकि अगर परम्यूटेशन सिमेट्री आप यूज़ करते हैं आप बहुत ज़्यादा लार्ज नंबर ऑफ मॉलिक्यूल्स तक जा सकते हैं, जो कि थर्मोडायनामिक लिमिट है जिसमें हम यूजुअली इंटरेस्टेड होते हैं, ठीक है। तो ये इनिशियल और फाइनल स्टेट्स आप कैलकुलेट करें जिस भी मेथड से, जिस भी तरीके से, ठीक है, और इस तरह का आपकी है, और इस परटर्बेशन के मैट्रिक्स एलिमेंट्स आप फाइंड कर लें,
ठीक
सही है।
ठीक है।
तो इनके मॉड के स्केयर आपको जो है वो ट्रांजिशन के रेट्स दे देंगे, ठीक है। तो ये वो चीज़ें हैं जो मैंने प्लॉट की हैं। तो ये आप जो पेपर मैंने शो किए हैं आर्काइव के, उनमें हॉपिंग ट्रांसपोर्ट के ऊपर पेपर है, उसका सप्लीमेंट्री मटेरियल में काफ़ी चीज़ें डिटेल से डिस्क्राइब की हुई हैं, तो वहाँ पे देख सकते हैं स्टूडेंट्स।
सही है, थैंक यू। स्टूडेंट्स में ऐसे में अगर कोई क्वेश्चन? नो क्वेश्चन इज stupid enough.
एक
और
स्टूडेंट
मैंने
सवाल
स्टूडेंट्स
करना चाह रहा था, उसने
जी
अपना
उसे कहें
हैंड
जरूर
रेज
करें।
किया, मैं जैसे ही उसको सेलेक्ट करने लगा उसका इंटरनेट बंद हो गया तो
ओहो,
सो
नहीं मैंने
ये
बहुत सारा
उसकी
बैकग्राउंड स्टूडेंट्स के लिए दिया था कि फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर के स्टूडेंट्स भी थोड़ा समझ सकें
नहीं
कि ये
नहीं,
क्या
अच्छा
है।
किया था, अच्छा किया था, अदरवाइज द स्टूडेंट्स गेट लॉस्ट के बिल्कुल ही क्या हो रहा है। यस वजाहत।
आदम आप
हाँ कर
तुम्हें
दिया मैंने, आई
परमिशन तो
थिंक,
स्पीक
हाँ
देनी पड़ी, राइट?
ये कर दिया, आई थिंक तो से डिले हो गया था। हाँ जी वजाहत।
हेलो, अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
वालेकुम सलाम।
सर ये जो आपने सिस्टम बताया ये सिंगल इलेक्ट्रॉन सिस्टम के लिए बताया है ना, जो माइक्रो कैविटी का जो अब
नहीं, ये
जो
सिंगल इलेक्ट्रॉन सिस्टम नहीं है, इसमें माइक्रो कैविटी है, 2 मिरर्स हैं, बहुत सारे मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं, ऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल्स बहुत सारे, ठीक है, अनऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं, और एक सिंगल इलेक्ट्रॉन है जो कि एक्स्ट्रा है, ठीक है, जैसा डोपिंग करके आप एक्स्ट्रा कैरियर्स इंड्यूस करते हैं। तो यहाँ पे एक ये कैरियर एक चार्ज मौजूद है, इलेक्ट्रॉन या और जो भी है, ठीक है, ये मौजूद है। अब हॉप इसने करना है, लेकिन जब भी ये काम करेगा मॉलिक्यूल्स की स्टेट्स चेंज होंगी। तो यहाँ पे जो डबली ऑक्युपाइड मॉलिक्यूल है, इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ें बहुत सारी मैंने मिस की हुई है इसमें। तो डबली ऑक्युपाइड मॉलिक्यूल जो है वो कैविटी से कपल नहीं कर सकता, जो सिंगली ऑक्युपाइड है वो करेगा। तो डबली ऑक्युपाइड ये कैविटी से कपल नहीं किया हुआ, ये प्लैरिटॉन का हिस्सा नहीं है। ये जिस पे हाफ करेगा वो प्लैरिटॉन का हिस्सा है। तो जब ये इधर से हाफ करके तो चला जाएगा, तो अब ये सिंगल ऑक्युपेशन इस पे है, तो ये अब प्लैरिटॉन का हिस्सा बन जाएगा। तो इनिशियली एक मॉलिक्यूल प्लैरिटॉन का हिस्सा है, दूसरा नहीं है, और प्रोसेस होने के बाद ये स्विच हो गया इनका रोल, ठीक है। तो एक सिंगल इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ पे सिर्फ इस सेंस में आपके पास एक सिंगल इलेक्ट्रॉन है जो हाफ कर रहा है, लेकिन असल में सिस्टम के पास बहुत सारी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्टेट्स हैं जो कि कपल कर रही हैं एक सिंगल कैविटी मोड से, और साथ ही अपने अपने मॉलिक्यूल के वाइब्रेशनल मोड से भी।
अगर मल्टी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सिस्टम है तो फिर वो इंटरेक्शन टर्म्स भी हम इंक्लूड करने के बाद जो ये प्रोटॉन्स जो है वो उनकी फॉर्मेशन होती है।
ये सिंगल पार्टिकल सिस्टम नहीं है, सिंगल इलेक्ट्रॉन सिस्टम नहीं है, ये मैनी पार्टिकल सिस्टम है, मैनी बॉडी सिस्टम है। ठीक है, इसमें बहुत सारे स्टेट्स हैं जो सारी आपस में कपल्ड हैं। ठीक है, तो आप एक्सप्लेन करेंगे, मुझे समझ नहीं है आप एग्जैक्टली क्या पूछना चाह रहे हैं इसमें।
तो मैं आप कह कि जो मॉलिक्यूल्स ज़्यादा है, तो मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है तो उनके आपस में इंटरेक्शन भी इंक्लूड है यहाँ पे, नहीं खाली फील्ड
हाँ,
हैमिल्टोनियन?
यानी कि मॉलिक्यूल्स के जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं, यानी कि एक
जी,
मॉलिक्यूल है फॉर एग्जांपल एक बेंजीन मॉलिक्यूल टाइप। ठीक है, तो इस पे बहुत सारे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं। ठीक है, सपोज करें 50 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स इसके अपने हैं। ठीक है, इस तरह बहुत सारे मॉलिक्यूल्स के इलेक्ट्रॉन्स।
जी
ये
सर,
बात
जितने भी है तो
सही है,
उनकी
सही है।
इंटरेक्शन।
हाँ, ये एक मॉडल सिस्टम है, ये एब इनिशियो डेंसिटी फंक्शनल थ्योरी या उस तरह की कैलकुलेशंस नहीं है। ये एक मॉडल है, मॉडल में हमने जस्ट क्वांटम स्टेट्स मॉलिक्यूल्स की ले ली। ठीक है, तो एक मॉलिक्यूल जो रियल में जिसमें बहुत सारे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स और न्यूक्लियाई और बहुत सारे वाइब्रेशनल मोड्स और बहुत कुछ है, हमने उसको सिंपल कर लिया 2 इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्टेट प्लस एक सिंगल वाइब्रेशनल मोड। ठीक है, वाइब्रेशनल मोड का मतलब बहुत सारा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वाइब्रेशनल स्टेट्स, एक हार्मोनिक ऑसिलेटर। ठीक है, तो ये 2 लेवल सिस्टम और साथ एक सिंगल हार्मोनिक ऑसिलेटर जिसकी बहुत सारी स्टेट्स हो सकती हैं। हमने डिफरेंट कैलकुलेशन में डिफरेंट ली है। ठीक है, डिपेंड करता है वो कपलिंग कितनी है वाइब्रोनिक इन स्टेट से। ठीक है, तो उसी के मुताबिक आपको एक थ्रेशोल्ड है जितनी कम से कम लेनी पड़ती है। ठीक है, तो अगर वो लैम्डा इज इक्वल टू 1 थी वाइब्रोनिक कपलिंग तो 10 स्टेट्स भी काफ़ी हैं पर मॉलिक्यूल। तो हर मॉलिक्यूल, तो ये बहुत सारे मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं। इसके लिए एक इंटरेस्टिंग फिगर मैं अगर आपको बना के भी देख चलूँ तो आप ऐसे इसको सोच सकते हैं जैसे ये 2 इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्टेट्स हैं और साथ ये एक ऑसिलेटर जैसे कपल्ड हो। तो हर मॉलिक्यूल को हमने इस तरह मॉडल किया है कि उसमें 2 इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्टेट्स और वाइब्रेशंस। ठीक है, तो ये वाला जो ग्राउंड स्टेट के साथ डिफरेंट वाइब्रेशनल स्टेट्स और फिर एक्साइटेड के साथ डिफरेंट वाइब्रेशनल स्टेट्स, हर मॉलिक्यूल बेसिकली ये है। ठीक है, इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है ये। उसकी अपने जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स थे वो कैसे आपस में इंटरेक्ट कर रहे थे, कैसे अपने नेबरिंग मॉलिक्यूल्स के साथ इंटरेक्ट कर रहे थे, या इवन कैविटी के मिरर्स के साथ कैसे इंटरेक्ट कर रहे थे, या फील्ड के साथ, कोई चीज़ इस मॉडल में एक्सप्लिसिटली अलग से नहीं है। ठीक है, तो इस मॉडल में सिर्फ एसेंशियल एलिमेंट्स हैं जिनसे हम पोलैरिटॉन्स को समझ सकते हैं। ठीक है, या उनका बिहेवियर या उनकी वजह से जो ट्रांसपोर्ट पे इफेक्ट आएगा उसको समझ सकते हैं। ठीक है, तो वो एक ये मिनिमल मॉडल है बेसिकली। ठीक है, तो मॉडल का जो मकसद है वो हर चीज़ को डिस्क्राइब करना नहीं है, वो सिर्फ एसेंशियल कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ें जिसमें आपका इंटरेस्ट है आप वो खाली देखना चाहते हैं तो आप खाली वो करेंगे। ठीक है, तो सारे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स को लेने का अगर हम लेते भी और किसी तरह कैलकुलेट भी कर लेते तो कोई फायदा नहीं था। ठीक है, तो इसमें नहीं है, सारे बाकी इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हम नहीं ले रहे। ठीक है, वरना रियल में अगर आप ऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल्स रखते हैं कुछ, ठीक है, एक मॉलिक्यूल दूसरा तीसरा और एक पे चार्ज है, तो ये चार्ज ऑफ कोर्स इधर भी इंड्यूस करेगा चार्ज। ठीक है, दूसरे मॉलिक्यूल्स पे भी थोड़ा सा। ठीक है, तो ये कोई एक स्ट्रिक्टली एक पॉइंट चार्ज तो नहीं है। ठीक है, ये इस पे कुछ रीजन में डीलोकलाइज होगा, ये इफेक्ट करेगा इसके स्ट्रक्चर को, इसकी वाइब्रेशंस को, बहुत सारी चीज़ों को। ठीक है, इसके इलेक्ट्रॉन्स को भी। तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें होंगी जो कि हमने इस मॉडल में नहीं ली। हमने इस मॉडल में फिक्स्ड सिस्टम्स दिए हैं कि मॉलिक्यूल सारे फिक्स्ड यूं हैं, बस वो जो कपलिंग पैरामीटर्स इंपॉर्टेंट चाहिए थे हमें, ठीक है, वो हमने ले लिए कि ये अगर एक मॉलिक्यूल है वो इस स्टेट में है तो उसकी वाइब्रेशंस कैसी हैं और दूसरी स्टेट में है तो वाइब्रेशंस कैसी हैं। ठीक है, तो एक कोई भी मॉलिक्यूल है इस तरह का टेढ़ा मेरा सा कुछ बड़ा सा एक्सटेंडेड सा सिस्टम, ठीक है, उसमें बहुत सारी साइड्स हैं, एटम्स मिले हुए हैं, मॉलिक्यूल बना रहे हैं। तो अगर ये ग्राउंड स्टेट में है तो इसकी जो चार्ज डेंसिटी है, इलेक्ट्रॉन्स की डेंसिटी है, उसकी एक सर्टेन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होगी। ठीक है, तो मैं उसको रो नॉट कह देता हूँ, चार्ज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन। और अगर ये एक्साइटेड स्टेट में है, एक्साइटॉन है यहाँ पे, तो ये अब डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन चेंज हो जाएगी। ठीक है, ऑफ कोर्स। ठीक है, तो अब इसको मैं रो 1 कह देता हूँ, चलें। ठीक है, तो ये चीज़ें चेंज होंगी। अब जब ये चार्ज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, इलेक्ट्रॉन की चार्ज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन चेंज होगी तो इसकी वजह से अब जो उसके न्यूक्लियाई थे कहाँ कहाँ पे थे, ठीक है, वो डिफरेंट फोर्सेस फील करेंगे। ठीक है, और उनकी जो रिलैक्स पोजीशन होगी, जो इक्विलिब्रियम पोजीशन होगी, या जो मॉलिक्यूल का स्ट्रक्चर होगा वो डिस्टॉर्ट हो जाएगा। ठीक है, तो इस चार्ज डेंसिटी के लिए जो कि गिवन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्टेट के लिए थी एक स्ट्रक्चर था रिलैक्स, और इस चार्ज डेंसिटी के लिए रिलैक्स स्ट्रक्चर ऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल का एक दूसरा है। ठीक है, तो ये जो चीज़ है ना, इसको आपने पैरामीटराइज किया हुआ है, जिसको हम कहते हैं वाइब्रोनिक कपलिंग है। ठीक है, तो जो सिंपल मॉडल हम जो स्टडी कर रहे हैं वो बेसिकली इस इफेक्ट को कैप्चर करता है। ठीक है, तो इसके लिए अगर आप मजीद स्टडी करना चाहते हैं तो आप पोलगॉन ठीक है, फोलगान और होस्टिन मॉडल, ये आप देख सकते हैं। होस्टिन मॉडल में हॉपिंग वो टनलिंग वो ट्रांसपोर्ट्स भी यूजुअली होती हैं। ठीक है, आप उसको अगर हटा दें तो खाली फोलगान, और खाली फोलगान के लिए एक सिंपल ये ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन है जो कि इसकी स्टेट्स को आपको कैलकुलेट करके दे सकती है। ठीक है, तो अगर बाकी कोई कपलिंग्स ना होती, ठीक है, जैसे यहाँ पे लाइट मैटर कपलिंग थी कैप्टी के साथ उसकी, वो ना होती तो हम इसकी एग्जैक्ट स्टेट्स जो हैं एक 2 लेवल सिस्टम और एक वैद्यमानिक ऑसिलेटर के साथ कपल्ड, इसको इस ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन लेंथ फिर ऑफ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के साथ एग्जैक्टली कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं एनालिटिकली। ठीक है, तो वो एक डिस्प्लेस्ड ऑसिलेटर बन जाता है। जो ऑसिलेटर पहले यहाँ पे कहीं पे था ऑसिलेट कर रहा था, अब वो थोड़ा डिस्प्लेस्ड हो गया। ठीक है, तो ये इस तरह की चीज़ है। लेकिन हम इससे ज़्यादा किसी डिटेल में नहीं गए। ठीक है, और हमने एक्सप्लिसिटली सारे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स या बहुत सारे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स नहीं लिए। ठीक है, हमने अपने सिस्टम्स जो थे उनको सिंपल मॉडल्स बनाया, उसमें खाली वो चीज़ें रखी जिनसे हमें मतलब था।
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
Any other question?
There's one question that somebody's typed up. The question is, where do we observe this phenomenon in real life or nature?
ओके, ये मेरी स्टूडेंट है। रियल लाइफ में हम एक्सपेरिमेंट्स वाले माइक्रो कैविटीज बनाते हैं। ठीक है, वहाँ पे खुद आप बना के सिंथेसाइज करके माइक्रो कैविटीज जो कि मिरर्स हैं। सबसे सिंपल जो केस है वो मेटालिक मिरर्स का हो सकता है। ठीक है, कि कोई भी सबस्ट्रेट है, फॉर एग्जांपल 1 इंच बाई 1 इंच के यूजुअली सबस्ट्रेट्स होते हैं जो मैंने देखे हैं। ठीक है, तो 1 इंच बाई 1 इंच का एक फ्लैट सा सबस्ट्रेट है कोई सिलिकॉन ऑक्साइड का। ठीक है, इस तरह की कोई चीज़, एक शीशा छोटा सा। ठीक है, इसके ऊपर आप हल्की सी कोटिंग कर दें, रफली 30 नैनोमीटर अगर आप एल्युमिनियम फॉर एग्जांपल कोट कर दें, स्प्रे कर दें इस पे। ठीक है, वो ऑफकोर्स जो है आप घर बैठ के नहीं कर सकते, उसके लिए बाकायदा इवेपोरेटिव वाला वो सारा सेटअप या जो भी है एक्सपेरिमेंट वाले जो टेक्निक्स यूज करते हैं वो चाहिए आपको। तो ये आप इस पे 30 नैनोमीटर की एक थिन फिल्म लगा दें तो ये आपका एक मिरर बन गया। ठीक है, अब इस थिन फिल्म मैं पूरा बना देता हूँ साइड व्यू। ये आपका सबस्ट्रेट है कोई सिलिकॉन ऑक्साइड जो भी। ठीक है, इसके ऊपर आपने एक फिल्म 30 नैनोमीटर डिपॉजिट कर दी तो ये एक मिरर बन गया। इसके ऊपर अब आपने स्पिन कोट कर दिया, वो आसान चीज़ है। ठीक है, स्पिन कोट कर दिया ऑर्गेनिक अपना मटेरियल। ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल आ गया। फिर ऊपर एक दोबारा से दूसरा एक मिरर आपने डिपॉजिट कर दिया इसी तरह इवेपोरेटिव उससे। ठीक है, तो वो भी 30 फॉर एग्जांपल आपने कर दिया। ये बीच में आपने 100 नैनोमीटर कर दिया, तो ये एक माइक्रोकैविटी बन गई। अब आप इसकी प्रॉपर्टीज स्टडी कर सकते हैं रिफ्लेक्शन या एब्जॉर्प्शन से। ठीक है, तो आप इस साइड से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप लाइट शाइन करते हैं लेजर से तो रिफ्लेक्शन किस फ्रीक्वेंसी पे कितना हो रहा है। ठीक है, तो आप पूरा वो स्पेक्ट्रम, ठीक है, वो प्लॉट कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, एनर्जी के साथ और एंगल चेंज करके इधर के या थीटा के साथ। ठीक है, तो जो कि ये इसकी वो स्टेट्स हैं, तो ये इस तरह का स्पेक्ट्रम, ये और ये स्टेट्स आपको नज़र आ जाती हैं एक्सपेरिमेंट्स में। ठीक है, तो एक्सपेरिमेंट्स में ये आप खुद बना सकते हैं, और कुछ केसेस में आपको कुछ बनाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। नेचर में कहीं पे भी अगर इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक फील्ड कन्फाइंड है किसी भी वजह से, तो उसके करीब की कोई मटेरियल की जो एक्साइटेशन होगी यूजुअली कपल होती है उससे। ठीक है, तो वहाँ पे भी इस तरह की प्लैनेटॉनिक स्टेट्स बन सकती हैं। मेरे दिमाग में कोई ऐसी एग्जांपल नहीं है जो कि सोचा जा सके फ़ौरन से, लेकिन ये मुश्किल नहीं है। ये बहुत ईजी है। ये इधर कायद आज़म यूनिवर्सिटी में भी अगर स्टूडेंट्स बनाना चाहें तो बना सकते हैं। इसके लिए कोई बहुत बड़ा सेटअप नहीं चाहिए होता। ठीक है, ये इस तरह की कैविटीज़ बनाने में उस तरह। बाकी इसके अंदर इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ें जो हैं ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग, कंडेंसेट, ये जो हमारे प्लैनेटॉन है ये बोसोनिक पार्टिकल्स हैं। ठीक है, इनकी कंडेंसेट BEC, बोस-आइंस्टाइन कंडेंसेट, इनके कंडेंसेट्स बनाए जा सकते हैं। और एक और इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ जो इसकी है, इससे कोहेरेंट लाइट इमिट हो सकती है, इमिट होती है अगर कंडेंसेट आपने बनाया हुआ है। ठीक है, तो इस तरह की कुछ चीज़ें हैं जो कि एक्सपेरिमेंट्स वाले रूटीन में आजकल करते हैं। तो ऐसा नहीं है कि ये सिर्फ कैलकुलेशंस में चीज़ें हैं, ये बाकायदा एक्सपेरिमेंट्स वाले कर चुके हैं बहुत कुछ।
Perhaps you might want to say that you can engineer cavities at will, and you need them for many applications.
बिल्कुल, exactly.
Any other question? Okay, then thank you, Hasan.
Sir, thank you.
Nice talk.
Thank you for your
Thank
attention.
you very much, Ehsan. बहुत शुक्रिया
Thank
आपका।
you.
बहुत शुक्रिया,
अच्छा
आपका बहुत शुक्रिया इनवाइट करने के लिए, बहुत शुक्रिया।
चलें चलें, अच्छा जी, अच्छा, ओके ओके, खुदा हाफिज एवरीबॉडी।
अल्लाह हाफिज।
हाफिज।
हाफिज।